Hi, and welcome to Claire's Yoga and Wellness channel. Today's yoga flow is going to be something slightly different than I usually do. It's going to be a strength and conditioning based class. So what that means is we're going to do some exercises and some poses that really help to strengthen and condition your body purely for sport, but it can be for anyone that's just wanting to increase their flexibility and mobility and just to feel much, better in their own skin. So as we get older, we know that, a lot of us struggle with, stiff joints, we get arthritis. Often we don't have the same mobility and flexibility that we once did. And if you're an athlete, this is really, really important to make sure that we have that really conditioned body where we're strong, but we have the flexibility and mobility to really get the maximum out of, what we're trying to achieve and our goals and our sport. Now, for me, I'm a triathlete, so I see a lot of people that put in so much work and they push their bodies, but they forget to do the strength and conditioning side. They've got zero flexibility, they struggle with the mobility. So when they swim, their shoulders are stiff, their traps are really tight, so they can't extend through their stroke, which means they're having to work a lot harder and less efficiently than somebody that has much more flexibility and mobility in their shoulders. They have open arms, they're able to really reach, they've got length through the sides of their body. The people that really do well, you'll see their bodies are conditioned in a certain way for them to perform at a maximum level. And that is what I'm hoping to show you today. It's only going to be a very short sort of class just to give you an idea. If you enjoy it, please shoot me a message and let me know, and I'll do a much longer one. I just want to see how people feel with this. Because not only is strength and conditioning good for the body, but it's also good for the brain. If our bodies are functioning at optimal level, it helps for our brain to function too. If our body is full of disease and it's pains and aches, we can't work in any area of our life to the maximum level that we want to. Or to the highest potential that we want to. So this doesn't just concern athletes. This is really for all-round wellness as well. And it doesn't take long to do. If we start the day with a little bit of movement, it sets the day off the right way. So the rest of it usually unfolds a little less stressful than it could do when you wake up and you crawl out of bed and your hips are hurting or your back's hurting or your arthritis is playing up. You're already setting that tone for feeling terrible. Whereas if you get up and you move your body and you start to add a bit of fluid around those joints and the movement is a lot easier, you're able to do a lot more and therefore you feel much better. So what we're going to do today is we're going to open up our shoulders. We're going to add a little bit of movement into them. We're also going to open our traps. We want to, especially for swimmers, like I said, it's really important to have open shoulders. We really want length through the sides. We're going to work on our core because having a strong core is key for everything that you do. That's sort of the center of where we want to work from. Then we're going to open up the hips and throw in a few other exercises just to leave you feeling great and ready to go into your next race or just go into life feeling much better. Okay, let's get started. If as well there's some exercises you find a little bit too challenging, I'm going to give modifications. So please don't shy away from the class just because you think you can't do something. I want to cater to all levels. So I'm going to find some that are a little bit difficult, and then I will give you easier versions for you to do if you're just not there yet. Okay, let's enjoy and let's get started. First of all, we're going to come into a child's pose. First of all, you can keep your knees together, or if you'd like to go a little deeper, you can bring your knees to the outside of the mat, keep your feet together, and you're going to reach your fingertips to the front of the mat and just drop your chest to the floor. This really sort of stretches everything out, but it's a great pose to start off with as well. And then come on up, bring your knees together. We're going to come into tabletop. From here, I want you to bring your hands behind you. Now, some of you may find this really difficult. This is going to get into your forearms as well. Okay, so some of you might not even be able to get into this position. If you can't, just go up on your thumbs like that, and slowly we'll work our way down. I want you to add a little movement forward and back if you can. Just really getting into the wrists as well. Because obviously wrist movement as well is so key. We want to have movement in all joints, not just the key ones, okay? You can also add some circles here if you'd like. Just be careful you don't hurt yourself. And then reverse the direction. Then bring your hands forward again. Now, if it's within your practice or you're comfortable, you're going to do it the opposite way, leaning forward, slightly back. Just be very careful. Try and get your thumbs to the mat as well. Engage your core as you do this. And this is just stretching out the top of your hands as well as your arms. Okay, then come on back very carefully. Then here we're going to do some cat-cows. This is going to add some spine mobility. So you're going to arch your back, look towards the ceiling, then tilt your tailbone and round through the spine, lifting your chin towards your chest. And then repeat at your own rate 3 more times. And if you'd like to as well, we're going to add a little other movement. We're going to come back towards the ankles, round through the spine, and then drop your hips towards the mat. Again, if this is too much for you, you can continue doing the cat-cows in the previous version. So come all the way back towards your heels, round through the spine, pushing through your hands, and then dropping your hips towards the mat. One more time. Come back into tabletop. We're going to move the hips side to side. Often we find this really difficult, if we haven't moved our bodies. So getting into our hip joints like this can be somewhat painful. So go as far as feels good for you, but you do want to try and really sort of add a little bit more mobility into them. So don't shy away from this just because you feel a little bit of a niggle. You just want to make sure you're not overdoing it where you hurt yourself. And if this is easy for you, you can drop all the way down, looking over the opposite shoulder, increasing the stretch. And then come through and change direction. One more on each side. Come back to the center. Now, for those of you who have got quite a lot of flexibility, we're going to do something called the puppy pose. Now, you're going to reach your fingers towards the front of the mat, keep your knees underneath your hips, and you're going to drop your chest towards the floor. If you can't do this, go as far as you can. This is really just opening up the shoulders here. And you can put your chin on the chest, chin on the floor or your forehead, wherever your comfortability level is. But this is a great exercise to really open up the shoulders. And of course, for swimmers, that's exactly what we want to do. Then we're going to come forward. You're going to sit back onto your heels. Now, this again is something that depends on your flexibility. If you need to get a prop, you can get a towel. Hold onto the towel. We're wanting to open up the shoulders here. If it's within your practice, you're going to interlace your fingers. You're going to reach your hands towards the mat, and you're going to push your chest forward and look up.
Navigate your way through tax and compliance with Sage, helping business grow.
Apologies for that. Okay, we're going to interlace our fingers and we're going to reach all the way back. But again, this just depends on where your levels are. If you need to stay in the previous one, otherwise you're going to push your chest forward, bring your hands as far as you can. This opens up the back as well as your chest and your arms. Come back to center, come back onto your knees, and then let's reach forward again and coming into our child's pose, bringing your forehead towards the mat. And this time you're going to take your fingers towards the left side and then sink your hips towards the right, and you'll feel this has got a lovely stretch all the way down the side of your body. Then come through the center and then change sides. Then come back through the center. We're going to tuck our toes and push ourselves up into a downward facing dog. Now this may be very uncomfortable for those that have never done this before. If so, have a bend in the knee, and we're going to work our way up to this position where your feet are flat on the mat. You can also walk on the spot as well, coming up onto your toes and then back down again, just helping you ease into this stretching all the way through the backs of your legs. Push through your hands and bring your torso towards the mat, keeping your feet shoulder width apart. Then from here, we're going to step forward with our right foot, coming into our low lunge. Now, this also, depending on your flexibility and how long you've done this for, may be challenging. If you need to, you can also drop your knee down to do it. You just really want to sink through and stretch through your groin, as well as if you're up in low lunge there, you want to really engage your thigh here. You can feel it burning. Engage your core. Push through your hands. And this not only is stretching, but it's strengthening at the same time. And if you really are comfortable, you can also come all the way up. And this is a great stretch if you're on your bike, if you're running. This relieves a lot of relieves a lot of some of that tension that you get or stiffness that you get when you're on it. Often if I'm riding and I find that I'm starting to get a niggle here, I will just jump off and do this, and it really does help. So this is a great pose to do often, whether you're running, cycling, swimming, whatever. It just helps to sort of loosen a lot of things off that you may find that you get when you're doing longer distances, depending on what discipline you're doing. Come back down. If you'd like to add a twist here, place your left hand next to your right foot and reach your right hand toward the ceiling. Come back to the center. Let's step back into a plank. Now again, if you need to, you can drop your knees. Okay, otherwise you're going to extend your legs, keep a nice flat back, engage your core, push through your hands. Now the plank is a fantastic exercise because it's an all body exercise. So it really strengthens your arms, your legs, your core, everything you need to do. However, it's also challenging if you're not used to doing it. So be kind to yourself. If you need to drop out and come back in, please do so. Then we're going to step our left foot forward, coming into our low lunge again. Same thing. If you feel uncomfortable in this position, drop the back knee and go into your low lunge there. And just really try and sink your hips so you can get the best out of this stretch. Okay, you can even move side to side to get into that hip joint, into the groin. Really work with your own body. The main thing here is listening to yourself. You know, I can sit here and tell you to do all these poses, all these exercises, but I am not in your body. So you need to really listen, know when to sort of bear with it to allow that stretch to work or to push through it, or when to say, no, this is too much, I'm going to hurt yourself. The last thing we're intending to do here is to have an injury. We're here to help, not to hurt. Okay, and again, if you feel comfortable, careful with your balance. Come on up. Really strong back leg here, sinking through the hips, and you can feel it really stretches out your groin. It's great. Like I said, watch your balance. Then come forward, and you can add that twist. Then come back to neutral, step back again into plank. We're going to hold our plank here. Backs here. You should feel your quads engage and burning. Same thing as you're pushing through the palms of your hands, keeping your hands directly underneath your shoulders. You should feel all the muscle groups working here. And then we're going to push back into our downward facing dog. Again, seeing if you can feel that your legs are starting to get a little looser and that you can actually feel that stretch where it's not feeling like they're going to snap. Then we're going to come forward again into our plank. This time we're going to come down into low plank. Same thing. Either if you're comfortable here, stay in it or drop down onto your knees. Either or. Engage your core. Here we're going to do hip dips. Side to side. Again, depending if you're comfortable with it, you can give it a bash. This really helps to strengthen our obliques at the same time as working our arms. One more on each side. Come back to neutral. Place your hands flat in front of you. I'm going to do something called the dolphin. Okay, so you're going to push back, really getting into your triceps here, and then coming forward. If this is too difficult, stay in your low plank. And do 5 of these. Last one. Drop your knees on the mat, and then come back into our child's pose. Here we're going to interlace our hands behind us, but bringing our hands over the top and aiming. You may only be here, but we're going to aim to put our forehead on the mat and bringing our hands over the top. Again, opening up our shoulders. Then sit on up. All we're going to do is come to the center of our mat. Bring our soles of our feet together, coming into what we would call a butterfly pose. We're aiming to get our knees flat down onto the mat here, but most of you or some of you may be up here. Again, completely normal. With anything in life, you've got to practice it to get better at it. So if you're incredibly stiff and you have very little mobility and flexibility, the fact you're here is a start. So please be kind to yourself and just keep coming back and doing the video, and you'll see each time it'll get easier and easier. So you can hold onto your toes and onto your feet. I want you to sit up straight, engage your core, and really try and pull those knees down to the mat. Posture is so important, and that's where a lot of the problems come, especially with the lack of mobility in our shoulders. You know, we have rounded backs because we're sitting on our phones, we're watching, you know, on computers, and then our cores are weak, so our tummies hang out and we end up in these sort of postures instead of really thinking about pulling our cores in, keeping our shoulders back, and keeping that nice alignment. That is the biggest part I can say, is your posture really does play a huge part in how you will perform. So the more you can work on your posture, the easier it's going to be not only to do these poses, but also for you to be a great athlete as well. And just in general, you know, if you have your spinal alignment is out, and you'll actually find that, you know, if you in these sort of postures, you get more headaches, you don't feel as good, you can't move your body as well. So it all links up. So working on your core, strengthening your core, shoulders back, making sure that you've got a beautiful posture will help so many things in your life, not just in the sports world. Okay, and then you can also add a bit of a butterfly in here. And that also just opens up the hips as well, adds a bit of movement into them. Okay, then you're going to extend your right leg out to the side. Now you may only get to here, or you may be here. Wherever you are, it's totally fine. So you're going to put your left foot inside your right leg, and then you can either stay here, reach towards that foot coming down this way, get hold of the toe and extend looking up. That way you also get the length through the side of the body. Then come on back up, change sides. Extend your left leg. Again, you can either stay here or you can just reach for your toes or your knee, wherever you feel comfortable, or you can get hold of that toe and add that extra stretching. Then come on back up. Here we're going to go into something called our Malasana Yogic Squat. You may be up on your toes, but this is fantastic at releasing your lower back as well. It's got so many benefits. The aim is to put your feet flat on the floor, palms together, use your elbows to push your knees out. That way you're going to open up the hips. Okay, again, working on your core, good posture. It's key for everything. And you can add a bit of movement if you'd like to, just to help get into your hip joint. However, if it's uncomfortable, then please just stay stationary. Do not hurt yourself. You can either add a bit of a twist here, where you just place your left hand next to your left foot and reach your hand up, and then come through and do the opposite side. Or you can also add a bind, if it's within your practice too, interlacing your hands around your right knee and then looking up towards the ceiling. And then change sides if you did join me with the bind. Come back to the center. Hold on to your hands again. Push your knees out. And then you're just going to take your hands behind you, coming onto the mat, turn around to the center. Here we're just going to do some nice rolls with the spine, rolling down, push through the chest. And we're going to do 5 of these at your own pace, engaging your core each time. Last 2. Coming up. This time we're going to do a few sit-ups just to work on that core again. So we're going to roll down, but only part way. And then we're going to come back, lifting our arms up. And we're going to do 10 of these. Making sure you're not using your arms as a sort of way of throwing yourself up. Your core needs to be doing all the work. If you can only do 1 of these, that's fine. If you can do none of them, that's fine. Just, this is where you're going to work towards. And the slower we do it, the more effective it is. So we don't want to be flying through them and then we actually don't build the core muscles. We're just more likely to hurt ourselves. Four more. And last one. And then slowly roll down, 1 vertebra at a time, coming onto your back. We're just going to take hold of our right knee, pull it in towards our chest, and just add movement side to side, getting into that hip joint. And if you'd like to deepen the stretch, you can take hold of your big toe, stretch your leg towards the ceiling, and you can either bring it towards the side to also get into the backs of your legs, but also into your hip, or you can keep it up at the top, whichever is best for you. Carefully come back down, change sides. Pull the knee towards your chest. Again, move it side to side. You can even add circles, whatever feels good here. You just want to be opening up that hip joint. And again, if you feel comfortable, you can get hold of that big toe, extend your leg, or bring it to the side. Just be careful that you don't hurt yourself. You can even have a bend in the knee, depending on where you are with your flexibility. Come back up carefully. And then let's come into our final position, Shavasana. Here we're just going to take a moment just to relax our bodies, allow all the work that we've done to just settle down. Take a moment to go in on yourself. We're going to take 3 deep breaths. You can close your eyes if you feel comfortable before we close off our practice today. And then take your hands, reach them over the top of your head for one last stretch as you roll to one side and meet me in the center of your mat in a comfortable position. Thank you so much for joining me today on this strength and conditioning class. I really hope you enjoyed it. We incorporated a bit of the yoga poses, but also some other things that just really help us to open up the body and really feel that we're increasing flexibility and mobility so that we can condition our bodies to be better, stronger, and much more efficient than they were before. Like I said, if you did enjoy this class and you would like a longer version or there's something else you'd like, please shoot me a message below and then I will try my best to do whatever I can to make that happen for you. And if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. If you liked it, make sure you like it. And please share with your friends and families as well so that we can grow this channel together. Thanks so much, guys. Have a wonderful day and keep on training. Take care.